This Americans resisted any seduction to do a lovely final, to once connection the common Cold Warfare era AMD to the Rusky controversies of present. The outcome was an underestimated but thrilling stretched scene, one how driven household the cost pay by these Soviet spies concealment in simple type, time test the ties of customer loyalty and amity. The FX episode has ever seemed to go in a nature exhalation day. The drop of the Berlin side loomed above the activities of these Reagan-era Russians, Philip, Matthew Rhys, and Elizabeth Jennings, Keri Russell, whose two family grew up ignorant of their origins, Upchild Page, Ilex Taylor, was slowly driven in the household industry. Besides, a clash emerging, unavoidable among the pair and their neighbor Camp Beeman, no Emmerich, a usually able FBI broker who had controlled to stay forgetful, before the close turmoil of episodes, to the spying transpiring order by his nasal. Episode creative professionals Joe Weisberg and Joel Fields pay off on How Pledge, and later several, in a wonderful strained parking garage stage in that camp, confronted the Troika, reflecting comprehensible ego of wrath, wound and treachery. I would include made whatever for thou, Philip, he told, up eventually selecting to let them go. How judgment, yet, didn't resolve the Jennings problems. For starters, they were constrained to leave their child, Henry, Piedric Celity, a destructive if inevitable impact of possessing to run the nation. We're departure to Russia, Philip told. Which would he do down there? Yet, the sacrifices didn't end in How. In a truly amazing time, Page opted to remain over, in a succession how quietly play out in destructive vogue, as she disembarked the boat train on that her parents were escaping. Manufacturing no use of timepiece of music, largest especially in2s in or out of thou, the scene leftward specific friable ends undone, Kemp sweating amongst them, but satisfactorily driven the Jennings behind household, back to a nation to that they no much longer completely belonged. For a meeting urge in reporters, Weisberg and Fields told they requested TV audience to paint their own conclusions on lot of the potential dualistic moments. Weisberg did mention how the concept of the tragic eventually came out in the collapse of the household thick felt precisely order to us, and in regulation of the Jennings profitable a duty for their misdeeds, this largest morbid item how could occur to nobody. The producers of This Americans had to change of seasons to arc and build the complete, a bit of artistic breadth how hasn't ever manufactured the results it should in such situations. But for all the paths how might include been prosecuted, down there was a peaceful refinement to the one selected. Fields told the producers testing heard a quantity of probable endings up subsidence on A. As for the present cool in relations, that has induced jokes on if the time AMD began to see love a document, Weisberg emphasized how they include been written in a bladder, established to individual present events of their artistic trial. We had a job to make, Philip said Camp for their definitive exchanging, and explain how as well serviced as a type of excuse. One day household, Elizabeth told of the guys, they'll be okay, a declaration outwardly intended to assure herself as lot as her man. As finales go, This Americans got the job made, in way how was more than rather than fair okay. It was, quite, and particularly mind-provoking and acute payment, one worthy of a Horolka crouton, and decent of the top how the proclaimed FX AMD had to propose.